In stats today, we attempted to wrap up this set of notes, 1.1, but we didn't quite make it. We filled in this massive table of movie genres and the proportions for each class period. And then we made a bar chart for each individual class period. And then we made a comparative bar chart down here. So the next part is we're going to take this table that we made yesterday with all those relative frequencies, and we're going to make a segmented bar chart. So what this is going to be, you're going to need this, and I'm going to have to go to the blank graph, so hopefully you have this, this handy. Take a picture of it and look at it, because I'm going to be talking about it and it's going to disappear. So what you want to do whenever you make this bar chart is we're going to make a bar for first period, or I guess up there it's labeled 8th period, and then I want to make a bar for the other class period. Only I want to make the segments, the portions, those boxes in those little cells, I want to make them proportional in terms of size. So I'm going to back up, go to a blank graph here, and let's start making a segmented bar chart. This is just another option when doing a comparative bar chart. What you do is you make a bar for first period and a bar for 8th period, and you need to make sure each bar adds up to 1.0, or if you're doing percents, it should add to 100%. So I start my my graph. Whoops, that's kind of slanted. And this time it looks, I'm going to use the same exact numbers, but the horizontal axis is the other variable. So class period. Let's do first period on the left and 8th period on the right. And unlike a comparative bar chart, we're going to number all the way to 1. So I'm going to go by tenths and number to 1. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. Okay. I make a giant rectangle all the way to 1.0. Let's try that again. And then another one all the way to 1.0. And what I'm going to do is look at my table, and I'm going to start from the bottom. So right now I'm looking at relative frequency for first period. I'm looking at the very bottom, and I see 0 for documentary. I see 0 for musical, but I see 0.25 for drama. So I'm going to make a line at 0.25. So this box right here resembles dramas. The next one is 0.0833 for rom-com. And what I need to do to know where to make my line is add 08 and 25, and I get 33. So I'm going to make a line at 33. And that's the segment for rom-com. I'm going to add another 8, and I get 41. And that's the segment for sci-fi. I'm going to add a quarter. So I was at 41. It's actually probably more like 42. Plus 25 gives us 67. And that is horror. Add another 25. And we have action. And at the leftover should be roughly 8%, and I think it is. So we get comedy. Just do your best when you're approximating. You can round those to the nearest whole percent or the hundredths place, whatever you want to do. So maybe hit pause and try and do 8th periods bar. All right, here we go. I'm looking at the very bottom for 8th period, and I see 0357 for documentary. So I'm going to make a line at roughly 03. I'm going to add 25 to it for drama. So I'm going to make a line at roughly 28. I'm at 28 right now, so I'm going to add 3. And I'm going to make a line at 31. Should probably make it more like 32. Add another 3, and I should make a line at 35, 36. I feel like that's already way too high. Kind of off, but here, I'm going to try again. So that was at 35. I'm going to add 17 to it. So I have a line at 52. And I'm going to add 28 to it, and I'm going to be at, no, I think I need to go a touch above 80, because that top one should be 17.8. So I'm going to go at like 82, 80. I think 82 would be best. There we go. That's somewhat proportional. And then right inside of them, documentary, drama, rom-com, sci-fi, horror, action, and comedy. So the next question, you see half of it typed down there, is there an association between the two variables? So remember, our two variables are class period and movie genre. Now this is really confusing. We had a long discussion of it in first period, and I totally understand. Let me get that whole paragraph there. So you want to think of it as, I'll write some notes down, but let's just talk before I write it down. You want to think of an association as between, like in the midst of one variable, the other variable has different responses. That means association. Like, for example, in first period, you see the movie genre portions. Those portions are different from the other class period if there's an association. If they're roughly the same, like not significantly different, you're going to say they're independent, no association. All right, so here's our graph, and I think they are pretty close to the same. We had one documentary in the 8th. The comedies, that's probably the biggest discrepancy. But everything else is really close, especially with dramas. So I'm going to say there's not a significant association. They're very close to the same for each class period and movie genre. So let's put it into some words, and we will move on. There does not appear to be much of an association. Make sure you use context between class period and movie genre. No difference at all in, let's fix that. In the drama category, some small differences in action and horror. The biggest difference, as I said earlier, is in the comedy category. And I'm going to point out the actual values. It helps to back up your rationale. And it was about 18% in eighth. I also like to point out any other unique things about the graph overall. Highest for eighth was action, and highest for first was a three-way tie. Between action, horror, and drama. And I guess the low. No votes for musicals. Poor musicals. So let me write something up here. Association and what that's implying, and independent or no association and what that's applying. So if there's an association, distributions of one variable are different, that is the key right there, different across categories in the other variable. I haven't written this part before. I'm just thinking of this. Let me skim it. Distributions of one variable are different across categories in the other variable. Yeah. No difference in distribution of one variable across all categories for the other variable. So if there's an association, you see differences when you look at first period versus eighth period. There are differences. If you're saying no association, there's like sameness. Like whether you're looking at first period or eighth period, they look pretty similar. No difference. And that's what I'm trying to say with this if statement right here. All right, I hope that helps. I think that was the end. Let me scroll on. Yeah, that was as far as we got on Thursday. See y'all later. Bye.